Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our live stream here on Chess and Twitch. I'm International Master William Pascal, and we're going to do analysis with subscribers today, and hopefully I get the right 6/3/25 analysis stream. No. Recent. Where the hell is it, man? That's weird. That's not right. Power of the New? This one doesn't have enough games in it. That's weird. Oh, okay. What was last week? 23. I have 223 analysis. Yeah, here we go. All right. Oh, we got Mango King TV subscribing in tier 1. What was that? You subscribed to tier 1. Nice. Sorry guys, my glasses. Forgot the glasses. I'm a little bit confused because we missed last week's subscriber stream. This is a bit of an issue because a bunch of people they submitted their games for last week's stream. There was no last week's stream because my internet was down for 77 hours. Personal record. And so now it's a matter of doing last week's stream today. What is that? There's a what? There's a quote. What? There's a Q. Yeah, Q. Yeah, Q. But we can negotiate the Q a little bit. Sometimes people aren't here yet or they don't care, so you don't have to necessarily go last as a new subscriber. But some of the people like just like submit games and then watch the VOD, later. But I do want to let anyone who sent their games in first go ahead, in order. They would prefer to do the game first. Anyway, we had another notification before I put my glasses on. Oh, that was you. That was all you. You got Mango TV following and Mango TV subscribing. All right. Was there something else that happened there? There might have been. No, 2 days ago. Okay, that's our only notifications for now. Mr. Slow submitted the following game. Rudolph Spielman versus Bugayov. There's Power of the New. Chapter 3 is Thomas Transon. Chapter 4 was Repunch Bonsa. Chapter 5 was Acerbate's game from last week. Acerbate has a new game. Acerbate, you sent in a new game. So you've got to let me know. Go second, please. Okay, Mr. Slow, we'll go second. Acerbate, let me know if you want to do the old game or the new game. Nefedov submitted a game. Morales submitted a game. Some Prism submitted a game. Chess Dribbler. Did I send a game long ago? Well, it wasn't long ago. I mean, yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's in there. And not that long ago. And new game, please. All right, Acerbate, we're gonna remove your old game. And if Mango King wants to submit a game, we'll stick it in there. As a new subscriber, we'd like to encourage you guys to subscribe. All right, we're gonna try to do around 10 games. I don't want to do more than that, but Mr. Slow has subscribed for 66 months. Coincidence? The evil Mr. Slow. Where's my pyramid? Dude, we lost the pyramid. The cognoscenti is gone. Oh no. Cognoscenti is gone. All right. So, if you'd like to submit a game, Mango, please send me a message on leechess.org. My handle there is SparkleHorse. You can send a PGN or a link to a study on the Leechess site. All right, let's start with Acerbate. Did I delete your other one, Acerbate? There it is, Chapter 5. I'm going to delete that. All right, yes, I've got a new game from Acerbate. Oops, that's not it. New game from Acerbate. If it pleases Master. Here. This is the new one. The following. That looks familiar. View on Leechess, copy. I put it in the wrong study. I got it earlier, Acerbate, but I put it in the wrong study because I was confused. Is this correct? Yeah. All right, we'll start with Acerbate's game because I'm sure it will be fun. Mr. Slow will go second if that's cool. All right, here we go. So Acerbate is white. Now this is a game in 30 minutes, classical against the 1633. Knight f3, d5, b3. As I mentioned to Acerbate before, I've been doing a bunch of work on the accelerated Queen's Indian. And the thing is, if you play accelerated Queen's Indian, white is committed. Sometimes the point is, like, sometimes there's an advantage in the opponent having an extra move. They commit themselves, you know. So when you play knight f3, black plays d5 and white plays b3, they don't have to commit necessarily to playing c5. They're less committed. It's like, that's the point. You know, if you play the birds opening, black is not committed to playing d5. Whereas if you play like the Dutch with black, in a sense it's more justified because white had the first move and committed himself to d4. So the idea is that in many cases, you know, it's not necessarily an advantage to have an extra move. Knight f3, d5. So b3 not that dangerous. You know, maybe black shouldn't go c5, trying to be white. But this move is a little dubious. Knight c6 is a move that blocks the c-pawn. And so black's going to be reliant on playing e5 or playing a kind of Veresov. I think you need to try to stop e5 here. And so you do with bishop e2, and now black plays bishop g4. But bishop g4, while not being a terrible move, one of black's only ways of trying to force through e5, not particularly effective. I mean, is it possible f6 is better than bishop g4? I would argue that can be the case. I got the game. Okay. Quasi king. Quasi. All right. Let's see if I can get this. All right. There. All right. Quasi king. You know, I have no idea who's going to be here, so we'll try to put it in there earlier rather than later. Thanks for subscribing. So Acerbate, back to your game. Whoops. Where am I? Yeah, so chapter 1. Anyway, long story short, I think I have a difficult time here saying necessarily what black's best move is. You know, they all have like upsides and downsides. Maybe black's best setup overall is like knight f6 and g6. But I think the moral of the story is that black probably shouldn't play knight c6. It's not the greatest move. Okay, bishop g4, and now you have a real dilemma. Black is trending to play e5 if you play e3. And you can see a lot of people played it anyway. They're going to allow e5 and then force black to give up the late square bishop. So this is a matter of This is a matter of black going from the frying pan into the proverbial fire. I've got a sink here. For some reason, I'm not synced in my own study. I don't know how that's possible. I'm not synced in my own study. So bishop g4, e3. The idea is, what does the knight c6 really do? So it controls the e5 square. It's a Chigorin. But anyway, black plays e5. The problem is he gets in e5, but he's going to have to give up his light square bishop or else sacrifice a pawn. Now the question is like which is the better thing to do? Acerbate making having to make a decision there if black plays e5. I would play h3. This is safer but also less aggressive. If you played h3, black has two options. Trade the white square bishop, giving you like kind of long-term compensation for the fact that black has the center, or B, playing bishop h5 and allowing you to win a pawn at the cost of weakening your king side with the move, g4. And I think that bishop e5 deserves consideration as well. But anyway, your opponent played e6. This is a very kind of passive move, but tons safer than playing e5 actually. So he got his bishop outside the pawn chain. Maybe this is not really objectively worse than e5. He got his bishop outside the pawn chain. Interesting little concept here. The majority of players played e3 like you did. I don't think that e6 is so stupid. If you come to the conclusion that e5 isn't so great, I just want to point out one thing. e5, h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, knight takes e5. Maybe this isn't so bad for black. I mean, it's a central pawn, but white has had to play like g4. So let's say queen e7. I mean, I've seen worse gambits. I've definitely seen worse gambits than this. The computer thinks that the compensation is not even half a pawn, though. Anyway, it's something that black should at least consider. All right. Anyway, he plays e6. It's way safer. All right. And now c4. I like this move. It attacks the center. It's absolutely not forced. One problem for white is that if you play bishop b5, he can simply answer with knight e7. I think that's a very serious and good way to answer the bishop e5 pin. So that's probably not great. Now c4. This is not bad. You can see there's a bunch of games where I played bishop e2. Picat lost to Sadler in 1998. But, white's play is a little bit passive. This is more active. c4 way more active. And I know that Acerbate would normally be afraid of this. Knight f6. We transpose to a game from 2023. h3. And now bishop takes f3. Hardly forced. And now pawn takes f3. I don't think I understand taking with the pawn here. I'm going to guess it has to do with the knight b4. So he refuses to take with the queen, presumably because he's afraid of this, where c2 is weak. However, you have a bunch of answers to that. I mean, you could just go back, black takes, you take back with the bishop, or you take back with the pawn. I don't know. This may not be that bad. The worst he can do to you is that, check, and you just take, and the position is fine. But, black could also try something different, maybe c5. But I think you're making a definite mistake. You should take with the queen. This is a little bit strange. one problem is this pawn clogs the diagonal. So if you want to go like here, you're going to have to play f4. It's going to take some time. The other problem is generally you're weakening your pawn structure. I'm concerned about this for serious, you know, strategic reasons. It's once he gets in d4, you know, you're playing effectively a kind of St. George or something after a3. I don't know where this knight is going. So I don't like that. If you take with the queen and he plays d4, I think the queen is pretty good on this diagonal. You know, for example, well, even this is possible. Like bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes b7. What the hell is going on? I don't know. The queen is irrelevant there. So after this, this becomes a distinct possibility for black. He doesn't do it. He plays a very lame move here. The other possibility is taking on c4. But again, here now, not bishop takes. You could do actually either way. Taking on c4 is not so good. He should definitely play d4. All right, this move, not that bad. Knight c3. This allows d4. How bad is d4? I don't know about that previous variation, but I can tell you that it wasn't good. It was not good for black. Queen takes b7. Queen takes rook check. King 7. I don't know, but it's something that black should not allow. Bishop e7, knight c3, and if d4 now, we never take, right? We're never going to take. We're going to go here, keep our pawn structure. We're going to keep our pawn structure, you know, fluid. So this is okay. Castles, and then Acerbate's folly. Pawn takes pawn is possible. What about pawn takes pawn? Maybe like he takes with the knight and he can play bishop f6, neutralizing your bishop on b2. I'm trying to watch the chat, guys, if you have suggestions. I know that I miss stuff, but I will try to answer the questions. And I want you to engage. So knight c3, castles, rook c1. Acerbate has a tendency to do this kind of on autopilot all the time. I think you've got options. Even queen b1 is an option. Queen c2 runs into knight b4. That's why I'm suggesting queen b1 is an option. Your normal recipe with a3 looks like a good move here. And on d4 again, you never take, but you play knight e4. I don't know. To me, it looks like black is okay. Bishop f6. I have a very bad feeling about this bishop. And this is kind of a product of g takes f3. We have potential for a very bad bishop good knight type of endgame around here. It might be hard to avoid that from happening. With rook c1, we're not castling queenside. Black still has this move. No, it is interesting. Like you could try something funky, like not this. You could try to be even more hyper modern with say knight e2. Yeah, we'll try to encourage black to overextend himself. Maybe this is a better move. No, seriously, because if black is induced to do something like that, he'll weaken his white squares in the long run. And now it's going to take a while, but maybe somehow this bishop will become relevant again later. I think that my assumption of knight e4 may be a very serious mistake. This actually frees him up to do exactly that with like bishop f6. White at this point should consider maybe avoiding the exchange of bishops even with like bishop a3. Anyway, it's complicated stuff. I don't love rook c1. Black does play d4. And so this is pivotal now. You play knight b5, which is the weirdest of all. Though very forcing. Your knight is off sides. After knight b5, he has e5. It looks clear to me. Black needs to play e5. You know, this isn't good. Your knight is going to be kicked back to a3. So I think you made a serious mistake. This is lazy, man. This is weird. Black has e5. Unless you have time to detonate his center. Maybe you do. You have a really crazy move here. And it might just work. f4. But I mean, I don't really have too much faith in this. If you could get this, you'd be fine. Maybe. I still don't trust White's position, though, even in the ideal situation. This is interesting. And now the idea is, your idea would be e5, like knight g3 at some point. What about knight e2, bishop c5? This looks too dangerous or not? Playable. You need to break out, you know, no doubt. If you play passively, man, you're going to go down the tubes here, I think. Very easy to go down the tubes, the U-tubes. So knight b5 is a dangerous move, but this is a catastrophe. This move deserves like 2 question marks, or at least 1.5 question marks. This is such a bad move for black. It's just absolute strategic catastrophe. Black gives up the strong pawn on d4 for what? Like, what are you getting? You're selling your, you're selling your mom's cow for some magic beans. The magic beans are over here. You're going to go home to mom and be like, hey, I got these magic beans. I got a check on h4. You sold the cow for a check on h4? Are you serious? Do you know how bad this is? Even pawn takes is okay. You know, I mean, the other way. Like, probably even d takes, allowing this check, and I don't care. You know, whatever. White is, like, better now. This is horrible. Last Miles, thanks for the raid. Sack Rook gives his regards. Sack Rook is here. No. Am I confused? You're both giving me your regards. Marianne G. Thanks for both of you giving me the regards from the same person. Do you know how bad this move is? This is the worst move ever. Pawn takes pawn. And now d takes e. But Acerbate, honestly, like, you know, in a vacuum, I like pawn takes. This is look at that. The structure. That's an unbelievable pawn chain. Combined with the bishop pair long term, and like what Sung Prism said is important. Okay, the bishop's not complaining. But it's not just this bishop, it's everything about White's position got better. So even this is okay. Takes, check, queen takes, and now rook takes. Your king has a safe square at e2. And here's a typical thing, guys. Thank you for the raid, Last Miles. Huge raid from the nerds and geeks. One of the most typical beginner mistakes is kind of the intermediate beginners. Very commonly, they overestimate the importance of an open file. This is so common, and it's understandable. You know, that you learn the concept of open files, how important they are. You connect your rooks, you get the open file. You should get an advantage. But, you know, open files come with this sort of disclaimer. The open files really only matter if you can penetrate on said open file. If the opponent controls the entry points, then it doesn't matter. You know, what is the value of having an open file if you can't get in? Exactly. So this guy basically traded on e3. sold his mom's cow for some magic beans, and got an open file that he can't even use. And his mom's like, hey, nice, thanks for selling our cow for an open file. This is a little dangerous here. So I think A3 looks appropriate. Maybe too slow? If that's too slow. So if this is too slow, because I'm concerned about knight A5, that's not even clear though, honestly. Like even this, like, what does this do? What does this do? It doesn't do anything. We're not even talking about the fact that C7's hanging, by the way. Yeah, black totally misplayed this strategically. This is a good move, Acerbate. I like bishop d3 too. Bishop d3, because you can get knight b4, bishop b1. Bishop b3 is fine. This check does nothing. And then this move does nothing. And now Acerbate is careful, because if he takes this pawn, his knight can get trapped at c7. So he's not being materialistic. This is a crushing move. And black can't play g6, so I don't think there's really a lot of good defensive possibilities here. You actually have a really nice shot. If knight e8, you have this decoy move, knight takes c7. That's brutal. That's perfect. One of his only ways of defending, okay, he can go to h5. But keep in mind, rook g5, g6. Now both pieces are hanging. That's not good. Rook takes, and my preference is for this, of course. Checkmate. So Acerbate, like, totally outplayed, this guy. Or we could say the guy outplayed himself. But it's amazing how fast black falls apart here. And now e5. And now this move is safe because you lost, Moms for Liberty has total control of d5 now. The d5 is gone. That means the knight will never... Plus, it'll never get trapped. This is beautiful. Plus, you can decoy the knight on f6 away from defending the king side. What a crushing game. Almost effortless play by Acerbate. Knight d5, cd5. The guy sees rook takes. Bishop takes h7 check. So knight b4. You're spoiled for choice. And now bishop f5. Does that work? Here you have so many choices. I don't know what to do. Bishop f5, rook takes d5. Obviously, he has to play rook takes d5. And he's still alive after rook takes d5. And it rhymes. Not a good position for black, but he's only like a pawn down. Most likely. After rook d5, bishop takes d5. Sorry, knight takes d5, bishop takes e5. Threatening g7, g6. Well, the beat goes on, and black is down a pawn. Yeah, this position is brutal. So I don't know about bishop f5, but he's now losing another pawn. And that's crushing. That's really crushing. a3 also good. It's funny. Deposit knight here. It not only like hangs the knight on prise, it's probably trapped anyway. Even if he didn't drop it on prise, you could probably just trap it with b4 and rook d2 or something. That's pretty funny. It was so easy, Acerbate didn't see it. I don't think Acerbate was even aware of this knight hanging. I'm not sure. But this is like checkmate coming. Oh no, and the other rook. Very nice. You didn't use your other rook. Come on. I don't know about the artistic finish there. I think that you get the last rook in the game. And he's sitting on the bench. Nice game, Acerbate. All right. Are we ready for Rudolph Spielman? Guys, don't forget to subscribe. We've reached our donation goal. Where's my donation goal? Wait a minute. There's something wrong with my my screen. The screen is the wrong size. No, it's not my screen. It's cool. All right. That's weird. I'm not seeing it. Oh, okay. It's fine. It's fine. It worked. My bad. I had resized the screen on my computer. Acerbate, no, he doesn't play over the board. He would probably like accuse his opponents of cheating and get kicked out of the U.S. Chess Federation or something if he played over the board. Probably better if he doesn't play over the board, but maybe someday. I know I'm afraid of what might happen if Acerbate were to play tournament over the board. Just 1 minute. All right, we'll read the Yefim Bugayov, also known as Yefim Dmitrievich Bugayov, and I hope Nefedov enjoy my excellent pronunciation of Russian names. He was born on the same day as my dad. Amazing. Wow, Bugayov's birthday is my dad's birthday. That's crazy. April 14th. My dad is gonna turn, well, he passed in 1994. But in any case, my father actually born April 14th. It's also Pete Rose's birthday, if anyone follows American baseball, who died last year. Pete Rose died last year. Bugayov, Pete Rose, and my dad are all born on the same day. Interesting. April 14th, 1889. So Bugayov was 36 years older than my father. My father was born in 25, and he'll be 100. So Bugayov would be 136 on April 14th. The interesting stuff that you find out here on my stream. Bugayov will be 136 years old, April 14th. Okay. And that's the day before tax day. So remember to file your taxes by, if you live in the United States, by Bugayov's birthday. All right. So, Russian-born German chess grandmaster. Yeah, obviously not a German name. Okay. Bugayov. Yeah. E4. Screw Bugayov. We're Rudolf Spielman. E4, E5. F4, King's Gambit. Now, the King's Gambit, I think it's a very difficult opening, and it's subjectively kind of incorrect. But in those days, imagine the potential without databases and courses on Chess Mom, and I mean, the King's Gambit feels like it must have been a very, very practical attacking weapon 100 years ago. Now, this game was played when? This was played in Triberg B, 1921. So that was 4 years before my dad's birthday, which makes Bugayov 32 at that time. Bugayov was in his prime. He was peaking. Just about peaking at 32. Anyway, Rudolf Spielman, I'm not sure about his birthday or his age. But F4, E takes F4. King's Gambit, yeah, I mean, I have a problem, honestly. Against the King's Gambit, I was playing some, what's it called? The Albin Counter Gambit. And the problem with the Albin Counter Gambit seems to be pawn takes pawn, C6, and knight C3. This variation isn't so easy to counter. I think that white keeps some edge here. So the Albin Counter Gambit, all it really does is kind of force white, or black rather, to like go back into. Black is kind of forced essentially. This line also playable, but not sure it kind of equalizes. It quite equalizes. Black is more or less forced to go back into accepted, a variation of the accepted. So that's kind of the main reason to play the Albin Counter Gambit in modern chess, at least. It seems like players are agreed that the Albin is best met by, forcing black back into this another variation. But anyways, E takes F4. This is a huge advantage, though. Sorry, you had a long phone call with your brother. The advantage of the move order would be to avert the possibility of bishop c4. You could cut down on your preparation, White really has to take, and then you play pawn takes f4, and you've cut out the bishop c4. Though they can still play it here, it's not considered that great. Okay. Anyway, e takes f4, bishop c4, and now, as many people may know, like queen h4 is considered interesting but risky. So black's best here is usually knight f6 or d5. Some kind of counterattack. It's either you're attacking the e4 pawn, or you're attacking the center with d5. Black plays knight f6. Now, White's supposed to play knight c3. That's the game. And here, so you said the romantic chess was fantastic fun. Everybody's sacking like a lunatic. And winning in spectacular manner or losing that way, that's proper chess. Well, the great thing about chess, Tomas, is that to each his own. I think that there's so many different ways to conceptualize chess. There's many different things to enjoy about it. It's different things, different people. The scientifically minded aren't going to agree with you, but doesn't matter. Whatever you love about chess might be different than another person, but it doesn't make it right or wrong. And I think that's why chess is eternally popular, because there's more than one way to enjoy it. Here I remember c6. And c6 is very thematic. So we want to play for that d5. That's supposed to be the best line. There appears to be another move that has a very good score on a small sample size with bishop e4. I have never played this position too many times with either side, so I'm not real familiar with it. I probably attempted to play this position with both sides, but only on a rare, random blitz game. But I do remember c6. Bishop e7 is a move that it looks kind of passive. It doesn't really fight for the center. But c6 fights for the center by threatening to play d5. I mean, this is a quiet square, bishop e7. Very quiet move. The idea also could be a problem. If bishop e7, I have e5. Bishop e7, e5, and if d5 pawn takes f6, I'm on the knight and I'm on the bishop when I take an f6. The key with c6 is that, whatever white does, if I go d5, and white pushes past, I can always take on c4. But if you do bishop e7, for example, just see, there's one game. Symmecheck. Black's going to have to play knight g8 now, because d5 can't be played because of pawn takes winning the bishop. So that's a bad move order. All right, anyway, black played instead knight c6, and this may be a serious inaccuracy. I also think this could transpose very easily to a Vienna. Possible we're actually already transposed to a Vienna. I am more interested in this move though. It looks like the top game is correspondence. This is essentially like some kind of crazy Roy Lopez in reverse after bishop e4. It's like a siesta. Spielman in reverse. So what's the problem with knight to c6? So Spielman is an expert in Vienna King's Gambit lines, as were many people in this time. I mean, the Vienna King's Gambit, this complex of openings, was extremely popular in the second half of the 1800s. Knight c6. So what's the problem with knight c6? Developing a piece routinely. What could possibly go wrong? Well, d4, d5 could go wrong. I mean, you could get hit by this pawn advance. But I think the main problem with knight c6 is that you're not getting any kind of counterplay. What does knight c6 do? You know, is the idea to like pick off the bishop with like knight a5 if d3 you go out there and like pick it up? I mean, to go here, not likely that's happening. I'm just not sure. I mean, okay, you say, okay, bishop c5 is no good. Bishop e7 is no good. d6 is passive. d5 is definitely playable. This is your life on drugs. d5 is like a counter pawn sacrifice. I'm also wondering about knight takes e4. That's a crazy... if you really want to go crazy. Does that lose to queen e2? Probably. This might be a minor issue. Yeah. That loses to queen e2. So Bugayov was more toward hypermodernism. Right. No, definitely the Bugayov, Indian. But knight c6, you know, it's kind of hard to understand this move. Black needs to develop the king side. I wouldn't play knight c6 for sure. It also makes it harder to play d5 because then you're going to get hit by a pawn capture. Let's see, he has some crazy idea of playing d5, and then, you know, he might have some idea of playing d5 and then like hitting it with knight b4 or something like that. Spassky Korchnoi, 1999. Wow. Knight f3. Yeah, now you need a good move. But what has any alternatives to knight f3? What about d4? d4, bishop b4. There is also another alternative. Maybe Morales should be consulted on this line. What about knight e2? Do we have problems with knight takes e4 now? Is that making this great again? Probably. There's knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5 now because the queen is blocked. Okay, so knight c6 may not be so bad. White plays knight f3. We transpose back to... People have played knight a5 here. This looks correct. Or not. What about Sung Prism's bishop e7 now? Uh-oh. Hey, Sung Prism, maybe your bishop e7 isn't so bad here. Because now e5, you can play knight h5 with Cunningham. Cunningham, King's Gambit type of idea. No, for that, yeah. It looks like bishop e7 is playable here. It may not be bad. It's been played in 5 games. The black is undefeated. I don't like d6, you know, because it's passive. At least with bishop e7, you would keep d5 in reserve. There's an advantage to that. But okay, this move, knight d5. And now I expected knight takes d5. Or maybe just castle. Wow, there's Ivanchuk Aronyan from 2009. Yeah, but I mean, the following move is psycho. He takes the pawn on e4. Black has options here. Knight takes d5 or castles. Even bishop e7. I would argue that this might even be reasonable. What do you think? Maybe it's not the most active variation, but it's not so bad. I mean, the main idea is that this isn't so good, you know. So even bishop e7, but this move, this is this is kind of crazy. I mean, taking that pawn is kind of crazy. The obvious point is queen takes, e4, rook e8. You know, so queen e2, castles, queen takes e4, rook e8. Okay, everybody sees that. We all see this as an obvious trap. It's not like black's going to play queen e2, f5, though he could even do that. But the problem is the move loses a lot of time. So knight takes e4, castles. Now we're threatening rook e1, castles. And now check this out. There are only 2 games. And this is one of them is Barbero, Fischer's old friend. And Gerardo in his prime in 1988 at 2500 with black here, he beat Horvath Jula, who I can't place Horvath Jula, but actually, yeah, I can't place. I don't know who Horvath Jula was. It's an interesting question. Maybe a strong player who passed away. I have to look that up. He's got a very good rating of 2455. I should know who Horvath Jula is. I mean, they couldn't be that old if they were 2455 and 88. They had to be a pretty strong player. It should be someone that I've heard of. The problem is Hungarians have this like limited number of names. There's a lot of people called Horvath. There are certain names that there's like a million. There's a lot of Horvath. It's such a common name. It's one of the top 2. I think it's top 2 or 3 most common Hungarian names. So all right, Sabo, Horvath, Castle, and now white played d4, and someone suggested c3 early. Well, I don't know. I mean, they both look good to me. I don't necessarily see the advantage in c3 first, but I'm not sure I see a disadvantage in it either. So d4, knight f6 from Barbero. So, I mean, what is this? You know, you played exactly like the game. Black is giving the pawn back, and he's still up a pawn. Okay. So he's up 2, he's giving 1 back. White has a very strong central pawn. And now Horvath Jula played queen d3. A somewhat logical move, eyeing the h7 square. Well, it's pretty ballsy to play the King's Gambit. It might have been a Vienna at that rating level. But you got to play what you know, right? See, problem with knight takes b4 is that it trades pieces. So I would think that would limit white's maybe attacking potential. Well, that's certainly one reason not to play c3 if he intended to take the bishop. So knight takes b4. This is apparently interesting. That line is given by Bugayov. Well, it looks like that's what Horvath Jula is thinking about. He's thinking about knight g5. So that's pretty nasty. And Horvath just played queen d3, black played knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, bishop e7, preventing knight g5, c3, d6, bishop takes f4, and Gerardo played bishop e6 and went on to win the game a pawn up. Not so easy for black, though. But instead, Bugayov taking the bishop takes, and then bishop takes f4. So now we have the pawn back. We're only down 1 pawn, but we've had to trade a piece in the process. And, you know, does white have enough compensation? Well, the bishop g5 looks very dangerous. When you get a position like this, we're analyzing this type of position, what you need to do is really try to say, okay, well, it's almost symmetrical, but not. White is a dark square bishop, black doesn't have a dark square bishop. There's the F file. Morales is an expert in this type of line. It's like a pawn odds game. If you're gonna lose a pawn in the Vienna, like, let it be the F pawn, right? I mean, we have this. Wow, what's this message here? Thomas Reinson. If I have time. Thomas Reinson, wait. Hold on a second. You have a game in here already from last week. You know, I missed last week's stream. There was no stream last week. So, you have to decide, do you want to do the old game or do you want to change it for a new one? I'm still on last week's stream because we had our 77-hour, internet outage. So black plays d5, but this is, like, guys, remember last time? You guys, Mr. Slow remembers our last Rubinstein. Familiar, anybody? Morales loves himself an e5 square. Yeah. So black has to think about this seriously. Do you want to lose the e5 square? If you play d6 like Barbero, you get less space, but I mean, how much does that really objectively matter? It may be a lot safer to play d6. I mean, this is guarded. You're kind of nullifying that bishop. Although it may go to that diagonal anyway. I'm just not sure. Stapfargen's here. I just talked about you yesterday, Tuesday. You're currently building up an opening repertoire. You're currently missing an action for like a year. I said Tuesday night, where's Stapfargen win? Someone played the Stonewall attack against me. But here's the problem, okay? Black plays d5, nice, right? Stable center, get space. You lose the e5 square, you lose the whole diagonal, you lose the dark squares. So I think this is really tough, man. Black also has to consider, like, h6, for example. That's probably game over, right? You don't have to be like Rudolf Spielman to be like, alright, nice knowing you, bud. Now, h6 is just not in the cards. d5 is a tempo. There's a definite case for this move. Also, the bishop doesn't have a great response. Doesn't want to go here. He has to go to b3. I think it's a tough call between d5 and d6. But ultimately, it's a tough position for black anyway. Now, very interesting move. Knight e4. Wow. Well, that's one way of avoiding the pin. Yeah, I like it. All right. One way to not get pinned with bishop g5 is to play knight e4. Now knight d2. Dude, I'm there. I'm there. Nefedov would offer a draw here at this point with black, probably. But I bet Nefedov wouldn't play knight g5. If I'm being perfectly honest, like, nobody in their right mind plays knight g5 in this position. Okay, I get it. This is an issue, right? Like knight d6, a3, and you're going to drop the d5 pawn. Actually, even that isn't clear. Like, check this out. You could go back here. Now you're attacking d4. After c3, would it be insane to play like here? I mean, in this case now on bishop g5, we have this. This is a different story. So I'm not sure, All I know is like this can't be right. This is crazy. I mean, you're avoiding exchanges. You're up a pawn against a dangerous sacking player. Bishop f5 also needs to be considered. There's the obvious, bishop c7. But I mean, again, is that bad? Queen takes c7, rook takes f5, knight takes d2, queen takes d2. How bad is this? This is probably not good. Yeah, I don't like this line. Bishop f5, bishop c7. Black would have to respond in a different way. It does look, this does look problematic. Queen d7. Although, even this might not be that bad. But you guys get my point. Like, I don't want to make the position more complicated. Knight g5 looks extremely against principles. Oh, shit. My line was the best. God damn, I'm good. Unbelievable. You see that? Did you guys see that? The best line is bishop f5. Bishop takes e7, queen d7. That's black's best defense. Did you see that? I figured out the computer's best line. All right. Sometimes you get lucky. I don't like this move. This is very creepy. You're not developing your pieces. You're giving attacking player, you know, complex position. The e5 square. Here. Knight e6, that blocks your bishop. So I feel uncomfortable. And I feel like this is kind of what happened to Nimzovich in the other game. Not Nimzovich, I'm sorry. What happened to Rubinstein? Where he just got kind of passive. He was like up a pawn. What was it, a pawn? I don't even remember if it was a pawn, but now it's getting worse now. White's coordinated. Nobody cares that he's down a pawn. You know, what good is this extra pawn? His bishop's now blocked. And now his pieces aren't well coordinated. The knight here is going to be shut down. That's embarrassing. c3. Opening the diagonal for the bishop, coming back to c2. This is like a master class in how not to play with black. Now, black d5 is hanging. So here. Yeah, see how similar this was to last 2 weeks ago? You know, Rubinstein. Now the next move, honestly, I don't think I would have gone for g4. G4 is kind of extreme. I think that honestly white has good compensation, doesn't need to go that far. But probably Rudolf Spielman was stronger than me. The engine thinks that white has clear advantage and any normal move will do. Rook f3, rook a, e1. I have to confess, it's not that I'm afraid for my king position. It just doesn't seem necessary to play g4. My guess is that, you know, he wanted to inhibit f5. You know, it's like f5 was like played in the Rubinstein game. But f5 doesn't really help black. Like, say you play this. Is this guy going to play... Is he going to play f5? Nah. There's too many weaknesses on the dark squares. I'm just trying to understand the idea of g4. Why is this necessary? Other than stopping f5, it just seems unnecessary. The only move I didn't like. Now g6 is horrible for black. But he's got himself in a situation where he's put himself in a situation where there's very little to do. You know, what is black supposed to do now? Maybe g4 has a point. It's like an anti-h6. I mean, the engine's number 1, rook f3 makes sense. If black ever plays like f6, you have the swing over here in some lines. This also makes sense. I wouldn't have played g4. But g6 looks bad. This is like fatal weakening of the dark squares around the black king. Space. He has the space, though, Mr. Slow. I don't think he needs that. You know what I mean? It's definitely not a hyper-modern move. The hyper-modernist doesn't need to play g4. He's already controlling the space of his pieces. He doesn't need the pawn, but okay. He's going to play like g4, g5, rook f6. Is that what we're going to see here? g4, g5, rook f6. Okay. I'm not going to claim that g4 is a bad move. I just said that it's unnecessary. It's not the only way to skin the proverbial Bugayov. g6 is horrific, though. g6 is truly horrific. Queen h4. I mean, if g4 induces g6, then I'll play it. This is so bad. Okay, f5. And now the dark squares are completely gone. Bishop h6, rook f7. He quietly plays h3. Look at the dark squares, bro. Look at the dark squares. He who hath dark square bishop. And now black played g5. Black's so desperate he played g5. Sacking a pawn back. And how's black's development doing? Good. He never moved his queen rook, neither did white. But he never moved his bishop either. And now queen d6. Desperately trying to trade queens. Yeah, so this actually is a strong move. White, it looks like white's going to have to sacrifice a pawn. But let's go back a moment, you know. Black is going to win this pawn. So Bugayov had to calculate, and I mean, white had to calculate this out. He must have seen queen d6, and he saw this move. This is an unbelievable shot. Bugayov bases his whole defense on this. You know, in any kind of endgame, the queens are coming off. We're winning g4. Black is fine. Maybe white's not lost or anything. What's the evaluation? Yeah, white's still better. Wow. Even with the queens off, white remains with a clear advantage. That's not completely unbelievable, right? The pawn structure is bad. You win a clear pawn, still white is better. But he finds this. This is such an awesome move. Absolutely like crushing. And now the queen, you know, the queen exchange loses, knight takes f6 check. How bad is it? King f8. No, king h8. Black gets pinned on the f file to the back rank mates. Here. What a crushing move, 94. Beautiful move. Yeah. So main thing, of course, is the mate. You know, I just want to point out like the importance of having your pieces developed. Anyway, so queen c6, very awkward. And then comfortably developing. Beautiful game. King h8. And now check. If rook g8, queen f7, presumably. No, rook g8, queen e7. All right, so rook g8, queen e7. Let's just take a look at that. Rook g8, queen e7, pawn takes e4. Here, queen h6, and then queen e5 check, and then finally rook here, mate. Probably forced. Did I do that right? Queen f8 check, rook g8, queen e7, pawn takes e4, rook f7, black has queen g6. Queen g6 is better. No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah, it's a good game. Knight g8. But the thing is, it's not over. It's not over. It's about the momentum. And now the coordination of all white's pieces. Black's queenside pieces never got in. F takes g4. Now, honestly, I would imagine white could play like h4 here, and he's probably winning. Just for argument's sake. Just push past, keep the lines closed, and I think we're winning. But after f takes g4, he plays the sharper knight h5, rook g6. It wouldn't be very fun to play h4. And then rook e7 with the brutal threat of rook ff7, allowing black to check and open up his own king. But there's no way to get it on h1. Okay, so no way, not exactly. There are ways this bishop can enter the game now, right? So that's what happens. Bishop g4, attacking the queen. There are theoretically there's a check here at f3. Plus our knight is hanging. But it just doesn't look like enough. I was expecting queen f7. Queen f7, rook h6, queen g7 mate. So how does black protect h7 here? That would mean that he could check. Check does nothing. So it would have to be knight f6. That also doesn't do anything. So I guess the answer is that this works as well. It doesn't matter. Spielman was, well, he was German. So knight f6, queen takes f6, sacking the queen. But is this cleaner to play queen f7? No. Oh, the knight's, oh my god. The knight's attacking, I'm sure you guys corrected me. My line doesn't work at all because of knight takes c7, my god. Of course. No, he would have played queen f7 if it had worked, of course. If this worked, he would absolutely play it. The rook is hanging. Sometimes you guys have to be like, oh, the queen's hanging. You know, I get a little bit crazy. Austrian-Hungarian Empire. We count him as a Hungarian then. He was Austrian. Yeah, Rudolph. Okay. Rudolph is a dead giveaway. Anna Rudolph. She's basically Austrian. Although she's Hungarian, she's from the west side. Alright. So rook g6, rook e7, here, here, here. Now queen f7 doesn't work, so we have this with the beautiful Arabian mate. Rook takes here, so black sacks the queen. And then what happens? We're up the exchange. This is just a technical win now. Black having to exchange rooks is game over. So d5's hanging, and c6 would drop the base of our pawn chain with rook takes b7. This doesn't help. Things are just going to get worse slowly. He can't afford to lose his pawn. Bishop takes d5 is crushing. He can't play bishop f3 check. So materially, black is okay. He's got 2 pawns for the exchange. But, alright. Yeah, rook g7 isn't going to last. So this is... I would imagine the exchanging rooks would be enough to win. He didn't want to let him exchange rooks. And then c4. This is combative. Reminds me of Nimzovich, who he did this in... Nimzovich did that breakout in the Latvian. Draw agreed, no, just kidding. Rook e8, if black resigned. Well, the final blow. There's no way to defend g, and if rook g7, bishop takes d5. So he eventually broke through, decisively winning control of the g8 square. Yeah, thanks for correcting me. So he wasn't German. All right. That was a good game. The G8 of victory. All right, guys, we got to get on. Get on with it. Power of the New. Are you here? Power of the New. The mysterious Power of the New. I don't even know if Power of the New is a subscriber. They submit a game every week. Does anybody... How could you be a subscriber if you're not a subscriber? Who is the Power of the New? I'm not going to go over their games if they don't tell me that they're a subscriber. Yeah, Bugayov, I told you. Yeah. My dad's birthday, Pete Rose. 36. He was 36 when my dad was born. All right. I don't know. We'll keep Power of the New until I know who the heck they are. Chapter 3 is Thomas Reinson. Thomas Reinson, are we doing your old game or the new one? I didn't see it when you answered me, if you answered me. Staff Organ, thank you for subscribing, by the way. I don't know if Thomas is still here. Did he say if you wanted to do the Power of the New? I don't understand. How do you submit a game if you're not a subscriber to the stream? You don't think he responded? We can hold on Thomas and go to the next game till we know. This is the new game from Mango King. Okay, we'll do Mango King. E4, G6, Knight F3, C6. Mango King is special because Mango King is a new subscriber. New subscribers unlock special benefits. I just know what they are. Oh, drank a beer in honor of the new subscriber on the stream. Can you guys believe that? First time subscriber. That's different from like Snapvargan. You're only like 800. That's good because most people who are 800 are like intimidated and scared to death to even like join my stream. This is our problem. We have no viewers who are under like 1400 because people are deathly afraid, you know, that will like hurt their feelings or something. Dr. Shipchance, what? You always like Bugayov's last name. It is a cool last name. It is a cool last name. Reminds me of someone else. Ooh, I got a message. Power of the New. Oh no, that's not new. It says 26 minutes ago. That was weird how that was like refreshed suddenly. I think Google is listening to me and like refreshing my messages. There's some kind of bot. The first step to getting better. Yeah. So you're white and black plays E4, G6, Knight F3. You know, technically the best move is D4, but I mean, we're splitting hairs here. Technically this is better, but Knight F3 is fine. Knight F3 gives black a few extra options. You're letting black transpose back into C5. It's not the most aggressive move. Still, Knight F3 is fine. It's fine. C6 is okay. And now Bishop C4. I think that Bishop C4 is debatable here. You're letting black play D5. You get a free beer. You're letting play D5, black, like Yoda says. Let's talk about a simpler example, right? Karo Khan. The Neanderthal attack. The so-called hillbilly attack. The hillbilly attack is fundamentally flawed. You know, although it's playable, it's not great. Because you're allowing black essentially like a free tempo here to play D5. And the question is like, well, why would you want to do that? Why? I don't really understand the hillbilly attack. I always thought it was kind of a joke. Magnus played it just for entertainment value, I guess. It's not that bad, but it's not good, you know. The flaw is in the name. Yeah, it should be a Neanderthal. But same point here. After G6, Knight F3, C6, your opponent obviously wants to play D5, and it's supported by the queen. If you could prevent it by playing Bishop C4, then Bishop C4 would probably be a good move. But since you can't prevent it, then you shouldn't play Bishop C4. At this point, you have to just accept the fact that you can't stop d5. And so the logical move for white at this point is d4. And then on d5, you should make a decision. If you like space, you push. If you're not crazy about overextending yourself, you defend the pawn with knight to c3. That would be my recommendation. And then the other possibility is if you play maybe something like, you know, King's Indian attack, you can just solidify. If you want to meet d5 with something solid, you can just hold your ground. You don't have to. What about c4? Yeah, I don't know what c4 really does. c4 is a move, but it doesn't have any special independent value. We're talking to a player who's 800, so... I mean, just the lesson is don't play bishop c4 mindlessly when the opponent is starting d5. Now, he should play d5, but he doesn't. If he does play d5, you know, you have an unpleasant situation. Taking is actually not the best. Maybe it's better to go here, like you turn it into what we call the hillbilly attack. Because on this you have pawn takes pawn knight g5, attacking f7 and attacking e4. This actually may not be such a bad variation. But black at the same time doesn't have take, you know. So I say don't play bishop c4. He plays this is a horrible move. Queen b6 has nothing to do with the position. So I think you should go about your business and develop. First priority. Castles would be my suggestion. You played d3, not a bad move. And now black played the Pilango. The Mariposa on the king side. Bishop h6. That's a funny move. In a sense, bishop h6, it's a bad move. I mean, he's actually weakening his king side. We normally fianchetto the bishop when that bishop acts like part of the defense. It's a double-edged piece. It has offensive potential, and it's also a good defender. That's the best thing about a fianchettoed bishop. It works both ways. It plays offense and defense. It doesn't make sense to play bishop h6. Now you're just trading off your own defender. Now he's looking at attacking b2. Kind of a tricky idea that if you take on h6, he can take on b2. Let's see. Take here. Take here. This guy's really asking to get his queen trapped. And I have an interesting suggestion of trying to trap this queen. What happens if you go, well, you have various ways to trap the queen, actually. Ouch. So, for example, bishop d2. Ooh, acerbate. He loses the queen immediately. So he can't attempt to take the pawn. He loses. This is one way to trap the queen. And then there's also, I kind of like this one. Here, takes. Well, obviously bishop back. You could even let him take on h6 and trap him with a different piece. What about this? You know, knight takes h6, knight d2. How funny would that be? You can actually trap him with your knight here. You know, just there's so many ways to trap his queen. It's like a joke. You know, so bishop h6 is really bad. You should just take it, but castles is okay too. And now, you know, he should trade, but he goes back. This is actually maybe not. Maybe bishop g7 was a sensible decision on your opponent's part. Maybe that's actually better. You know, he admits he made a mistake. Knight c3, queen c7, wasting time, and now d4. And I like d4. You know, why not? He's wasted time. You can take some center. He should play d6. I think that d6 is clearly black's best move here, to try to fight for e5 and enable his pieces to get out. But this is like, what's he gonna do with those people under the stairs? Now that whole queen side is frozen. Bishop d3. This is not an unreasonable move. It was likely to be attacked anyway. A5, rook e1, very good move. And now h5, this is a terrible move. Because he has all of his pawns, almost all of his pawns on light squares, he's creating a whole complex of dark square weaknesses. So this is very strong now, like e5, I think. Not necessarily the only good move, though. If you play knight e4, he's done. So I think that black would have to play d5, and you have a huge advantage. Probably takes, queen takes, knight e4, with a huge developmental advantage for white. So I think the key is like opening up the position when you have a lead in development. Now this doesn't look like it's opening up the position. There are alternate ways to play. You could play d5, trying to open up the position. I think that's also viable. Not so easy to open it up in this kind of structure. Knight e5, h4, wasting time. I expected you to play queen f3, but he has d6 there. You know, he stays alive. Queen defends the f7. So this is a good move though, h3, and now a4, and now you went, you know, you went really down the rabbit hole here with knight takes f7. When you have a superior position, you know, you should never, I mean, obviously it depends on the time situation, but be patient and, you know, don't try to cash in too early. You got to be patient. This move is very interesting, but it's also very unconclusive. I can see the sort of bug house, crazy house nature of this move. That you might be tempted to do this, having queen f3 check. If he interposes, you have e5 winning back piece. But the truth is, he'll probably just move to e8. Then you have the stuff with this. But even there, you know, maybe black isn't necessarily lost. He can try to put up some resistance with knight e7. So I think that if it's unclear, you go, okay, I'm not interested. I have too good of a position. You know, this position is just very, very superior for white. You shouldn't freak out when knight takes f7. This is what happened. Knight f7, king f7, queen f3 check. But you got to understand that he has this move. Maybe only one move, but that's all he needs. King e8. And I wouldn't be surprised if the computer says you have compensation for a piece here. But it still doesn't make the sacrifice right. You know, you have an overwhelming position strategically, and you traded it in for a kind of gambling on an attack that may or may not be enough. You don't do that. You know, it isn't good business. So wait. You know, like Mr. So said, yeah, keep developing. Bishop f4. And he'll play d6, you have knight here. This is... Maybe he stays alive. e5, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, bishop h2, but I still think that white is better. And bishop f4 is not your only move. I think, like I said earlier, this was a really key idea. Because you're focusing on the dark squares where he's weak. e5 would have been the start of something where you really exploit his weaknesses. Knight e5 didn't affect the dark squares. You actually, in fact, attacked him on the white squares. And the point is, his white squares aren't that weak. You're effectively attacking him on the wrong color complex. The problem is you can't break through on g6. e5, knight e7, bishop g5, knight f5. You're still not getting through. Now, I admit you have a huge position here, but I don't know if it's quite enough to win. Anyway, the way he played it, he gives back the piece. You have a crushing. You get your piece back now, and you've got interest. You've got a huge edge. It's a nearly winning position. And that's over. This is not a bad move. Hesitated. Could have played queen h5. And that is another sacrifice that may most likely be unnecessary. So you can wrap it up here quite easily with queen h8. And you can see you're going to promote if he goes there. And if he goes here, you win his queen. So I think rook e6, it might work, but you're gambling a little. And I mean, he should take it. I think you're still winning. You know, you're just winning in a little bit of a slower way. Anyway, it wasn't a bad game, but you know, the sacrifice was unsound. So you're got to be a little bit lucky. No, I mean, I think that the takeaway is that you're not attacking him where he's weak, and you need to identify what's the problem with black position. Well, yes, his king's in the center of the board. He's undeveloped, right? But where is he really weak? You know, it's a closed position. Where is he weak? And it's these squares. You know, so I think e5 makes a lot of sense. You're threatening this here and here. And that's crushing. If you land a knight on d6, Tartakover said, you know, knight outpost on 6 is decisive. You know, that's because how does he get it off of d6? You know, not easy to do. All right, good game. Now, Thomas Treinson, do we hear from Thomas Treinson? Anything? Any word? Cheers. I'm drinking so little on the stream these days. I don't know what's wrong with me. Cheers, everybody, to the Beer King, the god of beer, to Germany, Mr. Slow. Harsh 12 Vartan has subscribed a few seconds ago. We've got more games for you. Punjab Bonsa. So we're still gonna hold off. I've got Nefedov, Morales, Sung Prism, Thomas Treinson. The game I sent is pretty old, not for the faint of heart. No, but Thomas, did you hear me? We've got your older game, and then you sent a new one, or are they the same? Oh, it's the same game. All right. Where did I put it? Is it this one? Chapter 3? Oh, okay. This is Scandinavian. This is it. The one from last week. Okay. All right, so e4, d5. Scandinavian's playing this. No, not this one. So you're getting it now. You're getting it now. Getting my point. All right. We're going to do this one. But it's a Scandinavian. It's just a different Scandinavian. He's only got to play. This is an online game. Iceland, of course. Do you play the Icelandic Gambit because of your identity? Identity politics. All right. The Mad Viking. You guys know, you should know that I used to play e4, d5, e takes d5, knight f6 a lot. But some point around 2006, in the mid 2000s, I was like, I think there was this one game where I played it against a 2100 kid at the US Open and I couldn't beat him and I was like tortured. When I reached the point where like 2100 players started torturing me, I was like, you know what? This isn't worth it. You know, why am I playing this crap? So I think that the Scandinavian, the thing about it is this. The knight f6 Scandinavian, honestly, like, it's kind of gambity and somewhat tricky, but if it gets to the point where people really know what they're doing, it's not worth playing it. I think this opening depends a lot on surprise value. Having said that, I have some new idea in the Portuguese gambit. After d4, bishop g4, f3, and you won't find it in any kind of, you know, courses by or scammy videos by anyone. We have some new ideas here, but I don't trust it, you know. So objectively, the best moves for white are d4, knight f3, and bishop e5 check. Your opponent, however, played c4, which is the least dangerous, essentially. Voice of America. Yeah. The silence of America is deafening. So white played c4. Now, first off, you can play the Caro-Kann. But if you don't play the Caro-Kann, you can't play the Caro-Kann. Although a lot of people seem to have no problem adjusting to the Caro-Kann. Like Abu Saeva against me. And others, they all just play the Caro-Kann, even though they don't know it. You play the Icelandic Gambit, which is more interesting. No, I mean, this is a more interesting way to play. You know, it may not be as sound. I honestly never played too much with this in OTB because I always was happy. I always played the Caro-Kann, and I always liked the black side of the Panov, so I never minded playing the Panov, you know. This is the line I always feared the least. But nevertheless, Icelandic Gambit is interesting. No, if your opponent is an amateur who's materialistic, you can even play allowing pawn takes f7 check. If you really want to be nuts, right? Like knight c6. Pawn f7 check, king f7. Just for argument's sake. Even this isn't so easy for white. But I don't really recommend that. Alright. So this is the point. You have pressure on c4. You're going to use a lot of queen e7. I haven't looked at this in ages. Bringing me back. You're bringing me back to hanging out with Emery Tate and Throster Thorolson at the New York Open. 1998 or something, you know, 99, 98, 99. The Icelandic, Thorolson is one of those Icelandic Gambit guys. The Portuguese really get a lot of credit, though. So bishop takes e6, d4. d4 is not the safest move. So now you have queen e7 with ideas of bishop takes c4. I made that mistake before. I think I had this position with black where I've like done this, even though it's not necessary. This is a serious inaccuracy. Queen e7 blocks in our bishop. Therefore, your move is necessary. Check. Now white can interpose, you know, either way with a knight on c3 or bishop d2. And now you go queen e7. This is right. And now you're threatening, well, at the very least, you're threatening like bishop takes c4 check, winning your pawn back. So white can play queen e2. If queen e2, so just let me turn off the Opening Explorer for a second. If queen e2, my attention would be drawn to this square, which is undefended. And then you would have ideas like this. I'm just wondering what would be the final result of this type of line. For example, castle queenside. You can sacrifice a piece, bro. You know, just straight up sacrifice a whole piece in some of these lines. Like knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, rook takes d5. You get what I'm talking about. I mean, your development is so strong that you can literally sacrifice a piece for like one pawn, like Morphe or something, and have Mr. Slow? Well, I'm saying I don't know that d5 is a problem. We can sacrifice a piece. Looks like black has... Well, Rudolf Spielman would be happy with this position. I don't know about you. It's speculative. I mean, there's probably a safer way to play for black. The only thing is, like, this doesn't work because of queen takes check. So we can't win the pawn back by force. I'm just trying to remember, like, what you're supposed to do here. Maybe knight c6, knight f3 takes with check. Knight takes... I mean, there is time to castle d5. But we can't get the rook to e8 and get the queen out of the way. There's also knight b4. No, there's a lot of famous examples of people getting mated, you know, in positions like this. That's like the quintessential, you know, oops, my queen type of thing. The old knight takes a2 mate. I mean, the danger here for white is huge, you know, very hard. Very, very hard. Yeah, it's funny how few players have played queen e2 here. Bishop takes b4 is kind of like lazy. Bishop e2 is the best move. So bishop e2 is the best move. Jonathan Longren against Yedidia 1995. Remember when Yedidia got absolutely destroyed by Peter Svidler at the Near Open? It was horrible. It was one of these Scandinavians. I think it was that year. Svidler did like this rook takes e6, exchange sacrifice. All right. But anyway, okay, bishop d2, queen e7, and now d5. That's not good, obviously. This is not good. Bishop takes d5 check, queen e2. The only good thing for white is that he forced the trade of queens, or did he? He didn't. Actually, Mamajarov would play bishop e6. If your name is Shakhriyar Mamajarov, what move do you play in this position? Right? He would probably play bishop e6 and like avoid the exchange of queens. And that's not a bad move, I would bet. Because ultimately it's white who's stuck with the queen on e2. Right? Maybe this would be better than allowing the exchange of queens. I mean, he could try to play something like g3, but you're threatening to come into d4. He'll have to defend that. And ultimately, you know, by the time he gets his pieces out of the barn, I think black stands better. You're all over him. So it's very possible that this is a serious mistake by you. Okay, he can't take with the bishop, that's true. I just realized this is not possible. So he has to take with the king or the knight because of the threat of bishop takes g2. Oh no. White took back. He didn't take back with the knight? Oh, I see. If he takes back with the knight, he loses c4. So either way, he's screwed. This is better than I thought. All right. Then I take it back. I take back what I said about queen bishop e6. That's funny. It's very funny, yeah. He has to lose something. Now his only move is bishop f3, but he loses the exchange, right? And now simply c6. You're up so much material, you can consider knight c6, but I think this might be even better. Yeah, this is crushing. Obviously, you can just do whatever you want here. Nah, no chance, dude. A5. I'm playing A5. That's stopping. Your move is good too. You allowed him the frightening A5. He never got it in. He took the pawn. All right. Yeah, this is a crushing game. Yeah, very nice. Easy. That was very easy. Okay. Thanks so much. All right, we got Punjab and Nefedov, Morales, Sun Prism, and Chess Riddler. That's a lot of games. Let's go. What did I just get? Large donation. Prateam has followed. Guys, we're also streaming on YouTube. So hello to everybody who's here watching on YouTube. We've got the mobile output over there. Okay, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. This is Repunch Bonsa with black. So he's been playing the Nefedov variation with f5. All right, help the family. Thank you guys for helping my family. So, SC4 Wowie plays the classical knight c3. Now there's two ways to play this. And, you know, f takes c4 is the main line. But I do think that knight f6 deserves to be played more. This is the better move, f takes e. Yeah, to be honest, okay, it's not really correct. Knight f6 isn't so good, but it's complicated, you know. So if white doesn't know what they're doing, they can get in trouble. Yeah, objectively, pawn takes pawn is the best move. Here you have two choices. d5 is very complex, and Nefedov knows it, but the theory is very extensive. And then this is like, I think, safer. So I would recommend knight f6 to someone who's like an amateur. Unless you have like years of your life to devote to the analysis of knight takes e5, which is complicated even for like correspondence players. I think you're better off playing knight f6 as a starter. So I don't know how Repunch can learn the whole Spielman, but I mean, this is extremely complicated when even correspondence players don't maybe know the true evaluation of this position. Knight takes c5, d takes c4, knight takes c6. And Repunch Bonsa played b takes c. Oh my god, dude. He doesn't know. That's insane. You don't know about queen g5 and queen d5. So these are the moves. The theory just starts at this point. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, don't play this then. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, you need to play knight f6. It's much more of a compact variation. Easier to learn. This requires immense knowledge. So Repunch Bonsa goes queen g5 is best. He goes with b takes c. I've never seen anyone do that. There's shocking. There's a Michael Adams game from 1993. It's like free points. Why can't my opponents do stuff like this? It's crazy. 2345. That guy would be like 1,900 now. I was like 2345 in 1993. Alright, bishop takes c6, check, bishop d7. And now, you know, most people would be like grabbing the exchange. They would be satisfied, you know, grab the exchange. Bishop takes, queen takes, castles. Black has a little bit of compensation though. I could see this, especially in a bullet game, being a little dangerous for white. So what's the material? White is sacked a piece. It is funny. So knight takes c6, b takes c, bishop takes c6, check. Now hold on for a second though. You know, what I just realized is white also has queen h5 check first. Theodore, welcome. Just because there's 3 games, you know, 2 of them are GMs and they played bishop takes c6. Is there any value in this immediately? Probably not. I guess not. Because if you go there, I mean, he'll go king e7, and then bishop takes c6 won't be with check anymore. I would imagine this is good. You have to play bishop d7, and so now check. King g6 allows queen e5 check. That's not good. So you have to play king e7, and now if queen e5 check, which was played in all 3 games, black has to play bishop e6. This is his only move. And so this must be some kind of thing that's in some ancient Spielman scrolls or something left from the Dead Sea chess scrolls. Bishop takes a8, queen takes a8, queen takes c7, check. This isn't that simple, you know. Black, I mean, it's 3 pawns and a rook for 2 pieces, but white has no development at all. Michael Adams and Kokorev, so both guys are grandmasters, but one is an opponent is quite strong. These opponents are not idiots. King e8, castles. So how big is white's advantage here? I wouldn't think this is that easy to win. Wow. It's 1.3 at depth 26. 1.5 and growing. But you know, like the borderline between a win and a draw is around 1.5. This is kind of creepy. Like, I would imagine if black was like training himself to know this position perfectly, it might not be that easy to beat black. Neither player found the best move in this position. So apparently bishop e7 is absolutely best. A kind of, you know, like slightly less natural move. Not, you know, maybe Repunch Bonsa has something here, in a sense. This variation might actually not be that bad. I mean, it's not good, but you've discovered a line that actually, I guess you're using the computer, going to the 3rd line. White has a very narrow path. Queen h5 check. He has to find queen h5 check. And he even found that move, which is impressive. But bishop takes a8, queen a8 is better for black. Queen h5 check. King e7, and then he plays bishop takes a8, which is a mistake. Very interesting. And black's clearly better. No, this is deep research from Repunch Bonsa. Always play the engine's third choice. That's the takeaway from this in the opening. Sometimes those engine's third choices can really mess people up. You found a line that's actually not completely refuted. It has some practical value. White now played d3, and now black blundered. He's out of opening book. You see, he went with the third best move again. That's your problem, always playing the third best move. So the white queen is trapped after h6 and g5. Yikes. This queen protects the rook here. So had you found h6, it's like, where does white's queen go? Maybe it's time to play f3. I mean, seriously, what are you going to do? Wow. So Repunch just didn't have the killer instinct there. Played rook e8. White stays alive. Well, usually he plays too fast. White's very materialistic, my god. Pawn takes pawn. So now 2 bishops and 3 pawns against a rook and 6. The pawns are all, your pawns are all isolated. I don't really want to trade queens, but my king isn't safe. Yeah, it looks like it should probably be a draw. And it does end in a draw. I'm not sure if exchanging rooks is the best thing. I wanna try to break off white's pawns here, to break up his pawns. I don't know. I lost all my chat. For some reason, the chat is totally frozen. So I got the last comment from Mr. Slow like an hour ago. So I would think a5. This is the second best move. Surprisingly, c4 was better, offering a trade of queens. Queen a5 blunder. Well, the queen and the rook, you know, if they're left alone with your 2 bishops, could do some serious damage. I don't think we're frozen. We're good. All right. Just nobody's talking now. They're all bored by the Spielman. Basically a blitz game. There's nothing, you know, we can expect here. Perpetual check. It's just a bullet game at this point. And then it's apparently a draw. Black played for a win with bishop e5. And we lost the bishop. Oops. Still not clear. Because all that matters in a queen endgame is who has the passed pawn. This finally was perpetual check. Alright, well anyway. Nefedov is up. Now serious Spielman now. Mr. Slow, after the opening, you lost it. Did you see what Repunch Bonsa did there? What he did was something unbelievable. In the main line Spielman Gambit, Repunch Bonsa allowed white to just do bishop takes c6 check. And apparently this is not losing by force. After bishop d7, queen h5 check, king e7, queen e5 check, bishop e6, bishop takes a8, queen takes a8, queen takes c7 check. And what did we say? King e8, castles. Black has an improvement on Michael Adams versus Ferran Garcia, 1993. And in bishop e7, white might not be winning. It's 1.4. But that's if white plays perfectly. Makes you think like, hey, maybe this is a good trick to play. It almost makes you think like, hey, maybe this is a good trick to play. It's it's gonna like make people get confused. Suspicious. All right. Anyway, more suspicious content. No, we're analyzing the submissions from my subscribers. Jockey. Random coffee house games. Okay, yeah, exactly. Nothing like master games here. No, we had one master game. You could submit what you want. You're a subscriber. It's your game. You send me what you want, but you have to be a subscriber. And it's better if people send the games in early, because we have a limit. You know, we reached our limit. Okay, so Nefedov is white. I have Alzheimer's, and my brain gets tired after 10 games. C takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3. This is by the way, guys, this is a real game. This is a tournament or club game from Nefedov. Jeremy Fallowfield. I love these British names. God, I love these British games. British games, British names. Fallowfield. That's awesome. That's an awesome name. I've never heard of anyone named Fallowfield. Now, Nefedov is pretty cool too, but that's not a typical British name. You know, only like Slavic spies are named Nefedov. Nefedov is a typical Slavic spy name. Fallowfield, you would never suspect him of being a Slavic spy. Especially copy your old friend. Mr. Slow, you inspired me to start playing the you inspired me to start playing the bishop c5 thing. I'm really curious about this. This is fun. That's a good repertoire, Mr. Slow. You know, I'm not going to make you reveal your sources, but I think this is a good repertoire. It's like a concise. Don't allow the Sveshnikov. The Sveshnikov is like, you know, I got the book by Dorian when I was 12, and I was like, I told you guys, I was like, no, you know, there was the John Nunn Nydorf book I got a little bit later, and the Sveshnikov book by Dorian, and both books were like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna play this. You know, I'm like, the Nydorf and the Sveshnikov, I'm not an idiot, you know, I can't remember that. I've never really been attracted to playing the main lines of sharp theory. Like, it seems really hard, man. But this is cool. All right, but anyway, the Sveshnikov, you know, another thing is, like, if you play this, and white plays this, and you play d6, guess what? You avoided, wait, did we avoid something? After bishop f4, e5, yeah, bishop g5. We avoided the dumb knight d5 variation, you know, with black. So there's another advantage. But anyway, okay. Nefedov, knight c3, e5, knight b5, d6. And now, Nefedov doesn't play the best move, which is knight... I don't know. Caruana Carlson, World Championship. Caruana used knight d5. No, I don't know which is better. But honestly, I'm kind of a convert. I like this knight d5. But it's way different from bishop g5. We're not going to be able to convert Mr. Nefedov. He's very set in his ways. So anyway, bishop g5, a6, knight a3, and now b5. When is the old, like, Bent Larson bishop e6 going to come back into style? I remember once in a while someone playing bishop e6. It might not be a bad sideline if you really study it deeply. Objectively, it's not supposed to be as good, and it probably isn't. But almost everyone blindly plays b5, and I think there are white players with white pieces who don't know what they're doing. Those players might get confused. if you're black, and play bishop e6. Larson used that. Anyway, b5. And another shocking thing I saw, Mr. Slow, there was this, you know, the Hungarian guy who streams on Chess Mom, and he was streaming on Lichess for a while. You know, my frenemy, Banus Tamás, who's a top Hungarian player and 2600. Well, anyway, I was really shocked because some Indian, like low-ranking Indian Grandmaster beat the guy in Iceland like 2 years ago. Can you believe this? Like, he played the knight sack on b5. How does it go? Knight d5. How is the knight takes b5 again? How is that variation going? What am I thinking of? Knight d5, bishop e7, bishop f6, bishop f6. Not this line. Where is it that they sack the knight on b5? What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Oh, bishop takes f6? Yeah, here. No. Is it here? Okay. This line? Yeah. Okay, so this variation, Banu's lost with black in this line. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You know? I mean, this is like so deeply analyzed. This was 2 years ago, Reykjavik Open. I can't believe it. Anyway, all right, so white has a choice between knight d5 and bishop takes f6. I played both. Knight d5 maybe we could say is more common. But after this, you can't double the pawns. So it's a more positional line. Let's say this is a more positional line. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6. And now, Nefedov doesn't play my preferred c3. He plays c4, which Sebe Attila, my friend, said he thought was best. The problem with this line is that black gets, you know, dark squares. So knight c2. And the pawn is hanging at b4. I never liked this line. It doesn't feel like an attacking line, you know? And I always got the creeps from black kind of getting control of the dark squares. But it's fine. It's considered to be okay. Now a5. Look at the statistics. Black has done about the same with a5 and castles. If castles, taking this pawn is sort of dangerous. So it looks like black objectively doesn't have to play a5. The computer prefers castles. I would definitely castle. If you can not play a5 with black, you can retain more flexibility. It wouldn't even be a second thought for me if I had a choice. Why commit? If it's sound to play castles, then I would castle. a5 very committal. Now white plays bishop d3. So Nefedov is like out of book here. It looks like. What are you saying, Shaki? Like knight takes b4, knight takes b4, knight takes b4, bishop b7? You mean instead of either or? There's one game where that was actually played. Although rook b8 looks also, you know, pretty natural. Rook b8 also protects the pawn. Bishop b7. Okay. The problem with bishop b7 is like the Roy Lopez Shockey, I think. And there's a lot of similarity, oddly enough, between the Roy Lopez and the Sveshnikov. But whenever I'm playing the black side of the Roy Lopez, I'm thinking like my bishop has this awesome diagonal. Why am I putting it on b7? You know what I mean? I mean, it's like your bishop's already on a good diagonal. Why are you putting it on b7 when it has a good diagonal? So that's the tough choice. Yes, of course, this is also a good diagonal. But not right now because it's blocked up. I mean, this is a good diagonal. It can be a good diagonal. Can be a good diagonal, obviously. But I mean, say you castle. White plays knight takes pawn. Knight takes. Knight takes. And now like bishop b7. Well, I mean, you know, probably the knight's going to jump back into d5. There's no real benefit in bishop b7, I guess. Oddly enough, like this isn't so clear. Bishop takes d5, queen d5, queen b6, and white is a pawn up, but it actually looks really hard to win. I would think this would be a very hard position for white to win. With the horrible bishop, both sides have horrible bishops. Future Grandmaster has sent in a game. But we have to have a subscriber. They have to be a subscriber. They have to be a subscriber to the stream. All right. They could be a future subscriber. So Nefedov, nobody plays d3. Rifat bin Sattar, Butkevich, Furchech, and whoever Vasilin Dragiev is, some Bulgarian I never heard of, strangely enough. So some moderately strong players have played bishop d3. I probably played this move in a blitz game. You guys know the problem with bishop d3 is that, you know, Moms for Liberty are losing to Black Lives Matter in this position. The Moms for Liberty are looking for the light squares, and Black Lives Matter control the dark. When you play bishop d3, we like to stay political. When you play bishop d3, your bishop is very restricted by your own pawns. So the Moms for Liberty can't really get to the school board meeting. Their car won't start, you know. And the Black Lives Matter have good control of d4. Having said that, to be fair to Nefedov, you know, bishop d3 is a common move in a lot of variations, as well as in the Kalashnikov, a lot of times. However, you know, it would be nice to play like bishop e2, bishop g4, Nefedov. The problem you run into there is like, okay, black castles, and if you play bishop g4, there was a game I saw where we're like, I think it was very strong player. One of these young Russian players that slipped my mind versus Gelfand. Something like bishop e6. Gelfand occasionally playing a Sveshnikov these days. I don't remember who it was. Someone against Gelfand. It's just totally similar idea. I don't think the game is here. A different position, very slightly different position, but you know, yeah, you can't really force the exchange because you don't want to do this. So you end up sitting there like an idiot. You know, it's hard to say where to put the bishop. Anyway, g3 is another common idea. Pavel, I know you're out there somewhere. Acerbate gifting a tier 1 sub to Yaroslav. So h4. The other way to try to not exchange these bishops because of bishop e6. Bishop h3. Well, with bishop, with this, you can put the bishop on g2 as well. Anyway, whatever. Long story. Bishop d3 isn't so bad. Bishop g5. Zakarian David. Okay, there's a Zakarias David, who's Hungarian. But this is Zakarian David, and I'm gonna guess they're Armenian. But I get confused because the name is so similar. Different Hungarian ending with the S. Bishop g5. They're about the same rating, making it more confusing. Okay, b3. Because Nefedov didn't get enough of Moms for Liberty. Let's get some more pawns on light squares. You can never get too many pawns on white squares. Castles. And now h4. Now this is really kind of a surprising move because you have to ask yourself, where are we putting my king after h4? h4 with g3. Kasparov had a game where he did h4 and castled queenside in like 2000, or it was even older than that, maybe 90s, late 90s against Topalov, a brilliancy game, where he crushed Topalov, where he castled queenside. But I don't think we're castling queenside here. With b3, c4, and a2 against a5, black can play a4. So there's an old Mate Sebenik game. Bishop h6. Standard idea, if g4, then black puts the bishop on f4. So now queen h5. But I think the question remains, what about Nefedov's king? Where does Nefedov's king go? What does the goat say? What does the chicken say? Are we castling kingside? Are we playing king f1? Are we just never moving our king? So Sebenik here, who became a Grandmaster, obviously, and is a strong Slovenian master, played bishop e6. But I don't know if I really fully grasp bishop e6. I mean, if you play bishop e6, what's the threat? To take? Are you going to take? You're going to trade your good bishop for the knight on d5? I think that black needs a plan. I kind of like Nefedov's opponent's move. Rook a7 is a cool idea. The classic lateral. I almost like that better than bishop e6. Because I just don't understand what bishop e6 does. You can't play like queen d7. Bishop e6, queen d7, queen h6. Followed by knight f6 check. Maybe bishop e6, yeah. I mean, what's the follow-up? Here's my question. What is the follow-up to bishop e6? That's what I don't understand. When you make a move like bishop e6, generally speaking, you want to have some kind of plan. What is black's next move after bishop e6? I don't like bishop takes d5. That seems like it will just help white. And if you want to play something like knight e7, then why not just do it right away? So here's the question. Why not here? Probably, there's some concern of knight f6. Yeah, I don't know. Knight e7 is the best move. Fuck. See, that's why you guys pay me the big money, to find the best moves without the engine. I still was unsure. I was unsure about this. But the first question is white even threatening anything? Does this even it doesn't even threaten anything. I could go here, And if you take, you get the Richie Rouser. That I don't know. That does freak me out a little bit. I don't really want to lose my pawn. Then, yeah. This is a little... But I mean, king h8, even possible. King h8 is forced. But it's forced and it's good. It's easy to miss that. So, I don't like 7x move. I think Nefedov's opponent's move might be better than that, but it still doesn't really have a plan. This is the only move that actually has a plan. So rook a7 and now g4. Who can blame him? But to be fair to Nefedov, Nefedov's opponent, and Nefedov, everybody knows this idea. When you do g4, they do bishop f4. Well-known concept. And then what are you going to do? White is trying to trap your queen. So instead of taking on f4, Nefedov should consider the alternative. I mean, you have to think about it. Knight takes f4 is not an automatic move. This move gives your queen retreat squares. You know, obviously on like g6 you could go up or back. And you can take on f4 when you want to. So I'm not sure if you should take it right away. But I mean, dude, what's going on with our king safety? I thought Nefedov was going to bust the e5. No, that's not sound. Black can always play g6. So something not kosher about White's position. I think you should not take on f4. But nevertheless, g4, someone on sound. Mr. Slow likes it. It's anyway, g4 is Spielman approved. Oh my god, my computer wants to do a restart. Your device needs to restart to install updates. Never. So knight takes f4. And then now you did it. f3. Nefedov played f3. You got all of your pawns now on like one. He really likes Moms for Liberty. They don't have that in the UK. A lot of hot moms at Moms for Liberty. And, you know, if you're, you know, divorced or getting remarried. But seriously, f3. So f3 it's just about protecting the g4 pawn, it seems to me. That's a hell of a knight Black has on e5. And I would sell the bishop for my soul. Nefedov's preserving his monster bishop with bishop e2. I would be strongly, you know, you've got to be strongly tempted to play king e2 here and hope your opponent takes your wonderful bishop, you know. I would seriously be like slipping the guy $100. Please take my bishop. Bishop e2. This looks good for Black, but his position needs to open up. He needs to open it up. And the a4 is just calling my name. a4, play me. Does Nefedov have c5? Like undermining the e5 knight? But I mean, even this move looks extremely dangerous. Because it's very quick. What is Nefedov threatening? You got no threats. Yeah, probably just forget about the queen. So if a4, there's a huge threat of pawn takes pawn. Well, I mean, you can't take here because of pawn takes pawn. That's a disaster for White. White's king is in the center. All his pawns are on the wrong color. I don't mean to, like, pick on Nefedov, but I don't like the way this game went down. I don't like White's position here. I think that White is in a lot of trouble, but maybe he has a way out. Wait a minute. It's Black's move. Yeah, he needs to act fast, but the guy was concerned about queen g5. I think the problem with Black's opponent is that he's not dynamic enough. and that's common situation. But, you know, forget queen g5. Let's play this. It's just an f4 pawn. You know, big deal. I'm not trading queens. Queen b6. Queen f4. Now, for example, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, rook takes. Do you like your position with a knight on a1? Because I'm pretty much freaking out here. I have a bad bishop, my king is trapped in the center, my rook on h1 is not playing, my knight's on a1. I would probably lose somehow, but I gotta believe that black is better. This is +2 after queen d4. That's how difficult white's position is. But yeah, this move, it looks like black, yeah, he kind of fell into your trap, Mr. Slow. He's trying to trap the queen. There's also bishop. There's also bishop there. That's also a lie. Can you trap the queen? No. It goes to f5 and takes here. He got distracted by trying to trap Nefedov's queen. And Nefedov got time to play a very useful move now, rook d1. This may change the whole, you know, course of the game. The queen's not trapped, and now Nefedov has pressure on d6. This move doesn't threaten anything. Black lost a key moment there. Very key moment with f6. To achieve what? You know, prevent the queen from going to g5. I mean, f6 makes some sense. It guards e5, it gives the rook lateral, but it also wastes time, and it was probably a huge loss of time. Yeah, preventing rook b5. Now white needs a useful move. So if you ever try to play g5, you get your queen trapped, like, immediately. So, like, Nefedov can't get his queen out of jail. Maybe knight d4, knight f5. But he played rook f1, and this apparently doesn't really do anything. a4. Guess what? Your king never had a safe position. Anyone has a feeling knight takes f4 was bad? I told you that he should have waited. My point would only be that, like, without calculating anything, I need to see why are we playing knight takes f4 right away? Like, you can play it any time. That's my point. When you play knight takes f4, you give black the e5 square. But on the other hand, yeah, Pavel got worried about his g-pawn. He needs to time this better, but obviously, like, g5, I mean, why not g5? Yeah, I agree. I don't like knight takes f4. g6 instead of f6? Sire! I definitely agree. I don't think that he should have played knight takes f4. Tempting kind of move to play in, like, a blitz game, but if you have time to think about it. So g6 looks kind of lame. I mean, g6 looks bad. You have this. What do you got for me? You got a trap. Bishop takes g4, f3. Mr. Slow is going to get, like, combative on us. We got this. What was your point? Acerbate for the sub. I could go for a sub right now. You know, I've lived in Budapest for like 20 years, and I've only been to Subway like once. It's just disappointing. I mean, when you come from South Jersey and you move, even Boston had better subs. Okay. Queen h6. Well, we had Italians in Boston too. What's the idea, Mr. Slow? With g6. I just don't see it. f4 is hanging. You need to protect it. Usually Mr. Slow has some kind of idea, but here I don't see it. If it's not a sacrifice on g4, I don't know what it is. I was just thinking you might have this. Fancy chess syndrome. No, some kind of like... I'm looking for fancy chess syndrome here. No, it's okay. So Nefedov managed to like escape, and now f3 is protected. It's like I'm Emery Tate, and Nefedov managed to escape, and now I can even defend his b3 pawn with knight d4 triple exclaim. Rook a5 is an atrocity. You're on the verge of like invading into white's position, and what do? You play rook a5. Rook a5. I guess that's a way of preventing knight d4. It has some merit. Wow. Oh my god. And the guy goes knight takes g4. He thinks he has Nefedov done. Nefedov is cooked. But e3 is covered. And we had this Zwischenzug c5, the tactical Nefedov. And now rook takes c5, check. And if you play king h8, white has queen f7. Wow. So d5? But it's not clear what d5 does, is it? So it's not d5. Oh my god. I had the same hallucination as your opponent. That's crazy, bro. Of course, if I were looking at the position from black side, I would have seen it. I'll be honest with you. You know, I'm looking at the position from white side. So I don't blame Nefedov. Well, he didn't have a choice. I definitely would have seen it, like with black. It's pretty obvious. Wow. He got mated in one. Ouch. So he probably saw this wasn't good. Actually, I mean, that just loses a piece, right? You have to lose your knight. Nefedov's opponent misses. Rook takes. But now, what is white going to do? Queen e5 check? Okay. So it's not so clear. Queen e5 check, king f8. F takes g4. And the beat goes on. You know, Nefedov would have had chances. Rook c3. And white is actually still worse. Nefedov got very lucky there, you know. The opponent blundering mate in one. Probably time pressure. That's a good win, Nefedov. 20-52, his opponent. All right. But I think a lot to improve on there. for Nefedov. The Sveshnikov. Gotta improve your Sveshnikov. Okay. Morales is here. You got Morales, Sun Prism. Damn, Morales, Sun Prism, Chess Riddler. I got a game from Future Grandmaster, but I don't think I can get that many in. Might have to put that in next week's. Alright, if you unleash us. This game, anyway. Oof. Wow. 3 minute. Ouch. Alright, study. Alright. Sun Prism. No, Morales. Time is it, guys? 9 o'clock. Good, we got time. So Morales is white. You're white, you're playing e4, you're playing knight c3, and black's best move, and now bishop c4, and then, you know, I've been playing the same thing against you, bishop c5, right? Yeah, so you've had a lot of practice here. This is our current battleground. Thanks, Nefedov. Be careful with that Sveshnikov. Yeah, I really think the Sveshnikov is, like, you know, one of the best for black, but it just requires both sides to know so much theory. Alright, so Morales, none of this queen f3 crap, okay? We're going to be serious now. This is a 3-minute game with 2-second increment. Nice to see you playing with the increment. Knight f3. So I like to think of these positions as, like, black is playing the Joko piano, and, like, we're white. Black is white and white is black, but white has an extra tempo. So you're playing black with an extra tempo, effectively. Knight c6 would prevent you from playing this weird line that you play. I don't like to play knight c6 because it reduces black's flexibility, you know. The castles. Can I ask a stupid question? Like, what happens if castles? There's only one game with castles. Can you take the pawn on e5, or is that some kind of Eric Rosen gambit? You know, this could be relevant. It could just be a move order transposition. If castles, there's only one game, which could easily be like a correspondence game. That's weird. You're supposed to take the pawn. Dude, we're going to fucking Eric Rosen land. Knight takes e5, knight c6. This is like a transposition to Eric Rosen land. Oh my god. No. Not the... Ugh, that's not a good move. It's a kind of modified what's it called? I don't care. Eric Rosen Gambit. It's a modified Eric Rosen Gambit, but I mean the bishop's on c4. I don't know if you want to do this. You know, I mean, it looks kind of dangerous. So knight takes e5. There's even someone who played d5, and there's bishop d4. d5. That's apparently, like, completely unsound. Wow. So it's probably not a correspondence game. Black has to play knight c6. His best move, too. But here you have an option to play knight f3. Dude, this is like a 3 knights game with reverse colors or something. This isn't easy. I don't know. Now d5. Wow. This is actually really... It could be really important, theoretically. And there's no games. That's weird. No, I mean, I think that's something you got to look at. I mean, this is a very serious possibility. Huh. So anyway, opponent plays my move, and now you went d4 immediately. So that's even kind of unusual. I mean, usually you like castle, and then they castle, and then you're doing like d4, right? Wasn't this what we had before? This is not the same. This is not the same. Player, Sparkle Horse is black. Hello. Yeah, d6. You did d4. Okay, you did d4 a bunch of times. This is our exact game. Okay. 5 games now. Oh my god. E takes d4. Knight takes d4. Castles. Once I played c6, which was recent, and I lost. And now castles. So even though the engine says it's 0, Morales, this is like his pet variation. Looks like once you played bishop g5, December last year. Castles is best, probably. And now I played rook e8 once and lost, even though that's the best move. That was another recent game. I played c6 once and drew. Knight on bd7 and knight c6 twice. So knight c6 was that Tal game. That was my original reaction. It's Tal Nezabich. So your opponent played... Wow. Master's Database, 3 games with h6. I have not played h6. So this is interesting. Concretely, you know, preventing bishop g5. So I guess knight a4 is... Just for argument's sake, I want to look at knight a4. You grab the pawn. I get your bishop. Computer thinks it's nothing. But okay, it's playable. Maybe Rudolf Spielman wouldn't mind this. Future sacrifices on h6. Alright, not the safest move. h3. h3. What's the idea? Preparing bishop e3, but you're still going to have to protect e4 somehow. Now black play knight c6. Any games? No games in Master's Database. Knight c6, bc6. And now there's one. Queen f3. Queen f3 walking directly into knight d7. Oof. Rouse with the lemon. I mean, come on. King h2? I don't believe it. Maybe king h1. King h2 is bizarre. I can't believe you played king h2. That is a bizarre move. Dude, seriously? You're trying to allow knight g4 check, takes, and queen h4 mate? I can't believe you played that. That's crazy. You're just asking the guy to go here. Please play knight g4 so you can... Oh, it's not mate. Oh, my bad. Oh, well, I was hoping it was mate. King h2, it's weird. It's weird. You're like putting your king in a more exposed position. I mean, it seems like here... King h1 would be normal, you know? Why king h2? Wow. It's a brazen move. You're like, is that the computer's #1 move? then I'm going to be suspicious. I'm going to report Morales. If that's the engine's number one move. Nope. King H2 is really weird, man. You have no fear. Zero fear. Told you he's a maniac. I have a suggestion. Active king defense. Yeah, maybe Morphe would do that. What about like bishop f4? Is that stupid? I mean, just get the bishop out there, help protect. It's like a Benoni. You don't have to worry about the b file because you can always like just stick your bishop on b3. You have e5. Probably black would do this anyway. Okay, bishop f4, it's a move. Chinese player played queen f3. And black responded with bishop d4. It looks like a scotch. Queen f3 is normal. I like queen f3 better than king h2. King h2 is weird. Yeah, and now, I don't know, Morales just didn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel like he played like Morales in this game. But the interesting thing, you don't obstruct your f-pawn. I suggested bishop f4. Also, queen f3 was played by the Chinese player. And Morales just will not obstruct the f-pawn. Check this out. Now it's basically a scotch for knights. I think that black needs to act quickly before the offer expires. And with the king on h2, I'm like, please, you gotta play d5, no? Oh man, if you play f4, you're gonna walk directly into knight g4, and that will be mate. Oh my god. Wow. So let's say d5, right? We want to attack the center. Well, I don't know. All right, whatever. a5, f4. Now, I don't understand this. Am I missing something here? This is why we don't play king h2. Yeah, we're missing something. Morales planned it. He's going to play king g3. Triple exclaim. Now I go for this, and I get your dark square bishop. I'm not asking for that much. Bishop takes. Thank you for the dark square bishop. And like queen f3, bishop d4, and Morales is slightly worse. Point 2. Your best move is king h2. Imagine that. Yeah, knight g4. Morales is fucking lucky he has king g3 here. Otherwise, he's lost. That's unbelievable. Wow. So knight e3, queen f3 is not a good move. You should take, and go back immediately with king h2. And somehow white is still equal here, though I would take black. That's just crazy. Yeah, f4 was too risky, but it's a blitz game. I just want to comment, guys, this is like the most classic mistake ever. What is black doing? Bishop a6? That's so sick. What a horrible move. Oh my god. Strategically, did I tell you guys about this diagonal? Have I talked about this today? Vladimir Rubinchik? When I was a kid, he was like senior master. The bishop's developed from its original square. This is one of the most important lessons I ever learned. It's developed from its original square. You don't need to move the bishop for the sake of moving it. But bishop a6, like trading off white's bad bishop. God, man, this is so bad. And now you just build up. And now take. And white has a massive attack on the king side. You're threatening g4, g5 now. What a positional disaster. It's just g4, g5. Should I know this as a King's Indian player? How often do you put your bishop on b7 in the King's Indian? Only if you're playing the Queen's Indian. Somehow Morales like kind of messed this up a little. You know, he had better. This f5 really shouldn't happen. I mean, White started to play hesitantly right after bishop a6. I think this here, this car, that pawn formation should be a winner. Okay, it's not like you automatically win. It's true. I'm sure that white is clearly better. Not as big as I thought, though. The computer's only giving you a slight edge. I thought it was more. Wow. It's shocking to me that bishop a6 is black's second best move. Oh, now it's falling out. Okay, rook e8. I mean, clearly knight g4 was a better move. But, you know, there is an interesting debate here, Morales. Like, when he goes bishop a6, this is also good. Because the rook is very badly placed at a6. Yeah, your central pawn isn't well protected. But that rook is such a liability on a6 that you have a choice. You could do it either way. I don't care what the computer says. White's position is way easier to play than black. I would take white any day here. What if you play g4? It likes black. Wow. I don't know, man. The computer might like black, but I don't think humans are going to do that well here. I guess bishop d4. Here I am criticizing g4, and then I'm playing it in the next game. All right, anyway. Let's see what happened. I think that Morales played in a very sensible way. What about f5, though? g4 aside. We put our pawns in the right color. It's a Grand Prix attack. You stop him from playing f5. Yes, you weaken your king slightly, but we can live with that. But more importantly, like, your pawns are all in the right color. And you shut him down. And then, you know, his only chance is d5. That's going to be kind of double-edged. It looks like f5 is okay. I gotta say, yeah, I don't like knight a4. You know, it's blitz. You're playing blitz now, but this move is not right. This is not right. Like, that knight should be heading toward the king side. You're going absolutely the wrong way. Knight e4 is bad, really bad. You traded off, you know, his good bishop. I mean, his bad bishop. Black got the edge. And the game was, oops, the game was very unclear. That exchange of bishops didn't really help you. No, this whole game just degenerated to a blitz, the trashy blitz game, after a good opening. And now it's a draw. Although, yeah, it's a draw. It's a draw. Okay. Last game, or we got Chess Riddler. Sung Prism. Damn. Alright. Sung Prism is black. Not easy to beat the clown. I'll tell you what, Sung Prism. A couple interesting notes here. Very few people play the Leningrad Nimzo. And it's not that good for white, but it has a very distinctive feel. And it's kind of different from other variations. I had trouble with this at first. And I think one of the biggest problems is that it's so infrequently encountered that people with black, including myself, they tend to not know how to handle it as well as other variations. That's the first thing. The second thing is it takes a lot of skill to play it with white. And I was really, really surprised to see Drown the Clown playing it with white. Because it doesn't seem like his style at all. One of my best friends, the so-called Weed Master, who's been like getting my mail for 5 years, he's an IM and he quit playing, but he used to play the Leningrad a lot. You got to really know what you're doing with white, and I don't think that, you know, Drown the Clown fits the bill. But after C5, you know, he just goes into this like coward variation. This is not the Leningrad Nimzo. You know, that's what is this? Something else. It's some weird sideline. I had this once before. But there is a serious question here, you know, about move order. It might be better to play h6. You know, since bishop takes f6 is bad, they have to play bishop h4. You can force them off to the short diagonal, so there's no coming back here. And then play c5. Normally white plays d5. I don't think it's going to make a big difference in this kind of case. So h6 is a worthwhile consideration. Nevertheless, I think my friend played rook c1 against Nick DeFermian. The games in here. They had some game with like pawn takes pawn, queen takes d4. Nick played knight c6. Bishop takes f6. It was a draw. The game was played in New York Open in like 1994. So it's probably, you know, not necessarily recorded. But I don't think that's serious either. You know, I think that white has to play d5. This is like an inaccurate English or something like that. Like the bishop's not supposed to go to g5. So h6. Yeah, I mean, if he has to give up his bishop, like he has no compensation for that bishop. Anyway. This is lame. All right, now we're playing like a kind of Panov. This could transpose to a Caro-Kann. I had this position before. Let's check. Oh, yeah. So I've got 9, 10, 11 games here. Most of them going back quite a ways. Yeah, I mean, it happens. But I'm not sure. I think, you know, queen a5 might be the best move. But c takes d4 is also good. I don't know. This is clearly obvious try. I remember seeing this De Jong game. So I think that's 92, right? This Mate Josef against Peter De Jong, 2007. I looked at this once. You're supposed to play, okay, 94. I believe that's correct. 94. Queen d3. This is really funny because the bishop is hanging. And if knight takes, white has h4, and white is okay. So you have to find a really tough line here. C takes d4, e takes d4, and now black played knight takes f2. I mean, I don't believe this is correspondence. Let me just check this game. It is. No? Oh, shit. Game ID. Yeah. Unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That's correspondence. That white would allow that in a correspondence game and survive. That's unbelievable. The dude would be toast in today's world. Wow. Computers just weren't what they are today in 2007. Anyway, all right. So that was a correspondence game. Here, 92, 94, queen d3, cd4, cd4. That's that. All right, let's go back to our game. Hello. All right. So you play queen a5 and he plays the lame bishop takes f6. Check, takes, check. And this is just embarrassing. King e2. That's embarrassing for white. That's not good. He may not be like clearly lost, but it's not good. G takes f, rook c1. My impression is that white was just, he doesn't know how to play the Leningrad. He's just making it up. Now you play queen a5, which looks natural. I don't know if there's any benefit in like queen a3. Queen seems to be more mobile on a5. And now knight h3. I have to be honest with you, I don't think I would take this pawn on a2. When you have other things to worry about, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, okay, this is a threat, the knight to rejoin the game, but you can't really prevent it. But you need to get your house in order. So I think your priority here shouldn't be like grabbing pawns on a2. White's king is in the center. The a2 pawn is just an a2 pawn. You know, I still don't think like we should really focus on that. You should focus on development and treat the position more holistically. So I think the question is how to set up our pieces in this position, not grabbing pawns. So should we play like knight c6, kind of automatic move? Should we play b6 with the possibility of this? Does our queen get cut off if we play b6? And if it does it matter? He doesn't have enough pieces to trap our queen, right? So I think this is a critical position. And because the queen, you know, queen a2 is the engine's #1 move, that doesn't mean that you should play that move. I think it's important to be practical, that, you know, you're a human player. This is the third best move, but it's also easier to play. I think this is, you're basically already winning. You know, you don't need to take another pawn. He's lost strategically. So I feel like your chances of it going somehow wrong could be increased there. Now white plays g3. I mean, that move, yeah. I don't think he can afford g3, but he probably already gave up hope. Still, his position is really horrible. But now the white squares are even worse. He's thinking about his bishop, but I don't know, man. I would probably like prefer f3. Maybe he should even play f3 and put his king on f2 or something. Why doesn't his knight go to f4 already? Other thing. Why doesn't he move his knight to f4? At least get it in the game. It's very hard to get rid of that knight. What are you going to do? Play e5? The knight is a strong piece. This is way too surface. Yeah, d5. Wow, queen e5 check. I thought you would just go here. But he has knight f4. Yeah, queen e5 is second best move. You're going to trade queens. You trade queens, you're fine. You're winning. And then there, that surprises me. I thought you would put your knight on c5 where it's solid. What's wrong with knight c5? There's nothing wrong with knight c5. Okay, here. You're going after the material. Okay. You're more materialistic than me. It's something to do with being a French defense player. I don't know. We lost to a7. Oh, man. You lost to a7. So here, you could have just gone back to a5. This is kind of blitz game. This got out of control. And the irony is that you're still winning with the outside b pawn after all that inaccuracy by both sides. If only he could get his rook back in. So he has rook h5 and f5. There we go. I saw this end of the game. And he, the king side doesn't matter. It's that one pawn that wins. His knight's never moved off of h3. Thank God, it's move 33. It took him until move 33 to develop his knight from h3 to f4. How is that possible? He put his knight on h3 in like move 11, and it took until move 33 for it to get to f4. That can't be right. And now knight h5. I mean, yeah, he tries to get some counterplay. It's understandable. I saw this. This is a mess. It looked like he might have a chance. And now at least like sack your knight. I didn't see, I guess I didn't look this far at the game. You ended up winning this? You won on time. Okay. That's horrific. Okay. So the end of this game was just horrific. Alright, I didn't realize how horrific it was. It is truly horrific. This is truly horrific. Yeah. Oh. Alright. That's worse than like a Repunch Bonsa. That was bad. Alright, Chess Riddler also submitted a game. How are we doing on time? Okay. So Chess Riddler usually sends some fun stuff in here. It's a Sicilian. I don't know how somebody who plays this. Oh, it's not a Sicilian. It's d4, c5. My bad. Right. So, oh yeah, he told me the London system. Anti-London system. This line is pretty well known. What he does here. I would say it's like a major lie. The c takes d. I was looking at this years ago. There was some pretty high level games with c takes d. But I think the funny thing about this movie, it's kind of controversial, Maybe I'm thinking of a different position, actually. I'm thinking of a different position. My bad. I'm thinking of this. Knight f6. I was thinking of this position. I'm sorry. Here. Knight f3, e6, bishop f4, c5, e3. I was thinking of this position with c takes d. That's a different line. Okay, so here we have c3 by white, the ultra boring e6. Obviously, you know, knight f6, d5, they're alternatives. And now knight f3, knight f6, and then bishop f4. But this isn't a dangerous sort of London. When they play c3, it's like a passive London. But it can transpose back into a main line. So if you play knight c6, I've played b6 sometimes. b6, knight c6, they can transpose back in. So this c takes d4 is interesting. I think it's kind of dry. You're giving them a good square for the knight, and you're effectively playing a type of exchange Slav. So this is pretty boring line on the surface. If queen b6, it's like probably queen b3. Yeah. That's exceedingly boring. So you play knight c6. Now, my problem with the position is that I don't know why we exchange pawns on d4. But white's next move is questionable. The problem with exchanging pawns is that it gives white a good square for his knight. So I think this knight c6 is a mistake. This is a weird move. This was played by Velimirovich back in 1978. You kind of gotta like that. Outside the box. Polish defense style, but I mean, we're preempting that knight move. I like that. And queen b6 is fine. It just leads to a dry kind of game because of queen b3. What's the best move here for black, by the way? Queen b3, it's equal. Even queen b4 check is equal. But that's not very fun. So computer actually likes knight c6. I would think knight c3. What's our idea after knight c3? You can pin it? You want to pin it like a Nimzo? This is interesting. It's effectively a kind of Nimzo. But it doesn't look like we really want to give that. Do we really want to give that bishop up? I don't know. So it's interesting questions here. Okay, a3 definitely a surprising move. But maybe it prevents that counterplay we wanted with bishop b4. So now what do we do? Now we don't have, you know, d5 sucks. I would say b5 comes back into consideration. I think it's time to reconsider b5. b5, knight c3, a6, and e4. And now b4, a b4, bishop takes b4. It looks like we're playing the St. George. This isn't quite good enough. But I don't think that bishop e7 is right either. So what can black do? We're kind of stuck. It looks like we have nothing better than to play d5. There's queen b6. Wow. So it's like a French advanced variation. You can do this. And now b5, queen b5. Wow. This is crazy. So there's some stuff here. But I think that black has to play actively. This is not good enough. Bishop e7, knight c3, castles. This is too routine. Now white could have played e4. Not like it's devastating, but I think white is a little better. This is safe. Now you're just basically playing an exchange Slav. And I don't like the next move at all. We should develop, you know, probably b6. But you played h6. This is bad. h3 is more justified. a6. And then b5. Okay, fine. But I just don't understand the inclusion of h6 here. Now he castles. Okay, bishop e7. And now white overextends himself with d5. But not just overextending, he's sacrificing a pawn. But I don't understand white's move on any level. You know, this. What is this? White has a perfectly reasonable position, and he's like just randomly doing this. Oh, I get it. Okay, we can't ignore it because of d6. So if you're d6. So it's actually forced to accept it, but that's fine because accepting it is fine. It's an offer you can't refuse, but it's like, why? Why is white doing that? It's a totally normal position, and white is a little bit better. Very slightly better. So he creates chaos, but I think the chaos is fine for black. And you keep your knight on f6 to defend the king side. Probably fine idea. So knight d4, and we're just up a doubled pawn. This is very unwelcome. I just want to say. If you play rook e8, knight f5, you know, and like bishop f8, knight d6, so that kind of thing I don't want to see. Trading, and now white has queen f3, queen g3, kingside attacking chances. Our bishop is sort of dead. It still doesn't justify him being down a pawn. Now the next move is bad. This is reminding me of our feature game, Spielman against Hero. Dude, you have knight e4. I mean, this is very important that you have the nuclear inspectors coming to the nuclear site and, you know, testing for levels of radiation. This bishop radiates, you know, behind the pawn, through the pawn. If you play knight e4, I guess he has this. But I call bullshit on this. You can move your king. I don't believe the hype. Bishop here, bishop f6. I say you stick the knight on e4 and he's got nothing. See what the engine says. Rook e8. Okay, rook e8 is a good compromise. I don't like knight h7. You're going the wrong way. You know, this is kind of artificial. Yeah, you're playing like Spielman's opponent. Knight g5. We're defending by not trading pieces. You're up a pawn. You know, you shouldn't be like not trading pieces. And now another pawn. Oops. White was a little too generous there. Now you can just sack the exchange. You played rook e8. I would take the pawn on d4. I guess it's not going anywhere. Good enough. And then boom. And now the long diagonal is opening up. But white did that to himself. I think objectively, you shouldn't play knight h7. You know, and your attack really shouldn't have been that dangerous for white. I mean, this okay. You got pressure on d4, but I believe that white could have played better here. But anyway, his pawn sacrifice with d5 was stupid. Last game, a quick look at this submission here. White is future Grandmaster. This is a blitz game. The blitz game from today. It's a blitz game from today where you played perfectly. Rated blitz game. Oh, okay. So, the Hungaski, I don't know him too well. Okay. Smith, Mora, Gambit. Oof. So after c takes d4, knight f3, you know, black's best move here is a6. But a lot of people don't know that. Notice the statistic. There's only 15 games there. Okay, he just plays what he's gonna play. What is this He's transposing to the Nimzovich? I don't know why you would do that. E5, knight d5. Yeah, he like transposes to. He transposes to a Nimzovich Sicilian. Like, why do that? I mean, there's a lot of good moves for black here, but a6 is technically the best. Black plays this. And transposes to a, okay, maybe he plays the Nimzovich variation, I don't know. It looks like it. Queen takes d4, e6. There's also knight c7, that's occasionally played. And now bishop c4. I don't know this line. And apparently he doesn't either. You know, you like tricked him into playing an opening he doesn't play. Knight c7 when he should play knight c6. Knight c3, knight c6, queen f4. Now there's a question, there's also queen e4. I'm not sure, you know, which one of these squares is better. The advantage of queen e4 is that if he plays d5, you take, he takes back. Might be some slight difference there. There's also queen e4, f5 takes d5. Queen e4, f5 takes d5. It's kind of a nightmare. I don't know where you're supposed to put the queen. I guess queen f4 is safer. You have threats of knight to g5. Clearly black doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, this is weird. And now this b5. That's really dangerous. So f7. It almost looks like you have knight g5 here. If you play this, extremely dangerous for black. He could play knight takes e5. That's his idea. That might work. If you take on b5, you could drop a piece. You could just move your bishop. That's what you did. Yeah, I mean, this diagonal is very blocked, so this makes total sense. You also have the e4 square. And now, you know, again, knight g5 can be answered by knight takes e5. But he just like refuses to develop his pieces. It's a very strange way to play chess for black. You have 5 pieces developed, and he's still not developing his pieces. He's not using any time. And now knight e4. Yeah, this is very scary. Okay, finally knight d5, queen g3. If you go here, I mean, black might play h5 with tempo in some positions. You don't want to trade queens, so this seems right. You have the d6. He can't develop his bishop, and you have control the center. So it's a really bad position for black. Queen b6, and now, I know, here, I don't know. Feels like his only chance would be like trade pieces with knight d4. If he could trade pieces with knight d4, he could maybe... Okay, he also has ideas of bishop a6, trading off your bishop. That's what he does. So here, I suppose you could try to be, you know, creative. Maybe bishop d2. What's the point, though? Are you going to castle queenside? You could play h4. But again, it looks absolutely best. You played like absolutely best moves. Bishop a6, and now here, maybe you really have a choice. I would think this move needs to be considered, because you could recapture with a rook and possibly consider sacrificing your rook on d5. I would think that would be really, you know, potentially dangerous. I would like to see what the computer says here after castles. Bishop a6. Rook d1 is best. I'm absolutely not surprised. You play rook d1, and there will be threats of eliminating that knight on d5 and ripping him apart. He's got no development, you know. Yeah, this is what I would have done. This is also okay. But, you know, your rook is not as active here as it is on the d file. The problem is now... he has this invasion here. So I don't want him invading. That's why bishop a6, rook d1, bishop takes. He might not take, but here, you know. He's not getting in. So you help his queen a little bit. And naturally you don't want to let him in here. But how do you attack him now? You know? He's kind of playing like it's a French defense. Queen c4. Oh, man. Wow. I wouldn't have seen it. You know, it's too random. Wow, it's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So you had this queen takes g7. That's an unreal move. And you win the queen back. Wow. He has to take. That's so sweet. And so the endgame is better for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Better for white, but not necessarily easy. I don't know. You're up a pawn. That's the key. I mean, yeah, it's a pawn. It's a big pawn. He has a little bit better bishop. But e5 is so well protected, you can play b3. Fearless move. Well, it's a Grandmaster. You know, I know he's like a decent player. This h4, I probably wouldn't have played that. I don't know what you should do, though, objectively. Not so easy to convert this. It's tempting to play bishop g5. But yeah, this dude has got a lot of time, and he's dangerous. So h4, really strong move. And he has to play h6 to stop bishop g5. Now a5. He doesn't play a5. I thought that black would play a5 now. Is he going to recapture? Okay, he's going to recapture with a knight. That's interesting. He has knight takes, and then here. Wow. This game was actually pretty tough. And that now this pawn on c2 is a problem. He played really well for a guy in a bad position. You came up with another tactic on him with bishop c5 check. That's unbelievable. d5 check. Unbelievable. Wow. And then rook takes e6. And he's lost. That's about it, guys. Another tactic. And you're up a piece. And another tactic. Alright, guys, I'm going to take off. Thanks for the games. We'll see you all tomorrow. I'm going to host some Blitz challenges here on Lead Chess around 12 to 1 or so, Central European time. Thanks, everybody, for the games. Later. Thanks for the support. Hope you guys enjoyed the analysis. Hope you get some takeaway.